Hello everybody, my name is Tobisatsu and welcome back to the channel. Today I'll be showing all of you my physical media collection for my kaiju films. So Godzilla, Gamera, Ultraman, King Kong, all that stuff. I'm going to cut straight to the chase, don't need to stay longer than we need to on this. Let's get moving. So the first piece I actually want to go over is the Showa era Criterion Godzilla set. So this is obviously a set of all of the Showa era Godzilla films. Oh, well, crud. Sorry about that. Looks like my kitten wanted to get joined in on this. So, like I said, this includes every single Showa era Godzilla film. So that's King of the Monsters, Godzilla, Raids Again, King Kong vs. Godzilla, Godzilla vs. Mothra, Ghidorah, Invasion, Ebirah, Son of Godzilla, Destroy All Monsters, Talk About the Shakiness, All Monsters Attack, Godzilla vs. Ghidorah, Gigan, Godzilla vs. Megalon, Mechagodzilla, and then Terror of Mechagodzilla. And obviously a little actual slot for the cards. Not for the cards, for the discs. Not a great set, just because of how the discs are stacked, but it is cool to have all those movies on Blu-ray. From here, it's one of the few sealed things I have in my collection, and that is this Godzilla DVD set, the Ultimate Godzilla DVD collection. This comes with quite a few films, as you can see from the side here. And it's just a DVD set. It's sealed. I got this super cheap off Mercari. I believe it was like 30 bucks. Sealed, these usually go for 60, so it's quite a fun little piece to actually have. Alright, so as we get started here, for context on how we're going to do this, I'm going to go through all my Godzilla films, and then 4Ks of other films, Blu-rays, DVDs, shows, and then just repeat copies of things, etc., etc. So to start off here, we have the 4K release from Criterion of the 1954 Godzilla movie. We have the FYE exclusive steelbook for King Kong vs. Godzilla. The 4K edition of Invasion of Astro Monster. Just push this down a little bit for you guys. There you go. Personal favorite of mine from the franchise. Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster. Or Ebirah Horror of the Deep. Two versions here of this. Destroy All Monsters, which one of them is the recalled version, which includes the special features, and the other is the re-released version. Just a neat little piece. Godzilla vs. the Smog Monster, or obviously Godzilla vs. Hedorah. Hedorah, I don't know why I said it so quietly. Godzilla on Monster Island, or Godzilla vs. Gigan. Godzilla vs. Megalon. Going forward from here, we have the Heisei era. So we have the Return of Godzilla. We have Godzilla vs. Biollante, which is a fantastic film. Highly recommend you watch this if you have not seen this yet. One of the best of the franchise. Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah. And then Godzilla vs. Mothra. All of those films were imported because I can't get those Blu-rays super cheap here in the States. Except for now Godzilla vs. Biollante, because Criterion is doing a 4K re-release. So, unfortunate timing on my part, but that's okay. From here we have the double features from Sony. So Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2. And then Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla. Godzilla vs. Destroya. And then Godzilla vs. Megaguirus. As you can tell, the way the series is laid out with these is a bit funky. So in between those, I put in the 1998 Godzilla, which is on 4K steelbook. Really like the picture they use there. I know it's kind of a stock photo they use for it, but still cool. And then Godzilla 2000. GMK, and Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. Out of all the double packs, this is probably the best because these two films are bangers. Fantastic movies. Godzilla Tokyo SOS and Godzilla Final Wars. And this wraps up the Suitmation era of films. We have Shin Godzilla here from Funimation. This includes the slipcover. I'm sorry if you hear that playing in the back. This is the orthochromatic version of Shin Godzilla. Essentially a black and white cut of Shin Godzilla. Haven't gotten a chance to actually watch through the whole thing, but there's some good scenes I've checked out that look great. We have the godforsaken anime trilogy, so that's Godzilla, Planet of the Monsters. See the back there. Godzilla, City on the Edge of Battle. And then Godzilla, Planet Eater. Again, not a big fan of that trilogy. Sorry about the nudge. So, mainly have it for completionist sake, but that is a tough trilogy to get through now. Then we have the Japanese edition release, whatever you want to call it, from the Godzilla store of Godzilla -1. Kind of wish I waited to buy this because they have that other release now with the commentary track, which looks a lot nicer, I think, than this packaging, but that's okay. Nice piece to have. There's some cool little collectibles inside of there you can view on my, I think it's November haul, which I'll link at the top. We have the 4K 2014 Godzilla Steelbook. And even though it's not technically Godzilla, I have it just because it's in the Monsterverse section. We have Kong Skull Island. A film I'm not too big on personally, Godzilla King of the Monsters. Not too huge on that film. From here, we have the Godzilla vs. Kong 4K Steelbook. Like the art on the front a lot for that. We then have, even though not as much of a favorite as Godzilla vs. Kong for me, Godzilla X Kong, New Empire Steelbook. And then a neat addition here, the glow-in-the-dark art Godzilla vs. Kong Steelbook from Walmart. Alright, next up we have some other Kaiju Blu-rays that are separate from Godzilla. And before we get into this section, be sure to leave a like if you're enjoying the video so far. If you've got any questions on the products I'm showing, just be sure to leave a comment. Next up, we just have some Mothra films. So we have the initial Mothra from Mill Creek Steelbook. And then the Rebirth of Mothra trilogy from Sony, which I believe is actually worth quite a pretty penny now. So really happy to have gotten that when it was $9. We then have the two Arrow video releases of the Gamera films. Just so you can see what's inside. This is going backwards, but Gamera vs. Jiger, Zigra, and then Super Monster. Gamera vs. Virus and Guran. Barugan and Gyaos. And Gamera vs. Barugan is fantastic if you haven't seen it yet. And then Gamera the Giant Monster. And then for the Heisei era box set, again going backwards here, Gamera the Brave. Gamera 3 Revenge of Virus. Gamera 2 Attack of Legion. Love this film to death. And then Gamera the Guardian of the Universe. These are absolutely awesome releases from Arrow. So if you're a big fan of kaiju films and you want to get into like the Gamera series, this is a fantastic option. So highly recommend it. Really nice sets. Really enjoy those. Next up, we have the 4K movies. So we have Cloverfield. Always a fun watch. This one's kind of hard to tell, but this is Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.11, Thrice Upon a Time. It has schmutz on it from shipping, unfortunately. But a nice little set. I might even make like a YouTube short at some point going over that. Absolutely fantastic from one of my favorite directors, Pacific Rim. Love Del Toro, so obviously very him in this film. Awesome movie. Which then makes this letdown even worse, which is Pacific Rim Uprising. Horrible, horrible film. Huge disappointment, so not even going to talk more on it. We then have Rampage, which I actually was surprised how much I ended up enjoying this. I don't usually like Dwayne in anything, so for me to actually like him in this says a lot, because I just can't stand him normally. Cutting back into the Blu-rays, we have Frankenstein Conquers the World. And this next section through here is going to be all SRS Cinema releases. They usually release some like low-budget horror, kind of out-of-state, like Japanese, Korean films. They're a really cool company. We have Monster Seafood Wars. Nezura 1964. Super Legend God Hikoza. This one was okay. It's short, so it's not horrible, but definitely not an amazing film. War of the Ninja Monsters, Jaron vs. Gura. And then Yuzo, The Biggest Battle in Tokyo, which I really actually enjoyed this quite a bit. It's a kaiju comedy, so it kind of has to be up your alley if you want to try and enjoy it, but I really did like this quite a bit. Alright, continuing forward, we have Evangelion 1.11, You Are Not Alone. Crazy looking Blu-ray this is. And then Evangelion 2.22, You Cannot Advance. Probably my favorite of the quadrilogy. Next up, we have some DVD releases. Attack of the Giant Teacher. Well, I don't know why I flipped it like that. Jeez. Sorry. We have Croczilla, which includes 4 bonus movies. Man, what a deal. Which obviously they listed there on the back. The Great Buddha Arrival. Very curious to watch this at some point soon. It's either got the premise to be amazing or absolute trash, so hopefully it's really good. We have Peter Jackson's King Kong. I need this on 4K at some point, just, again, waiting for the prices to kind of be more what I'm looking for a film like this. I don't hate this film, but I also don't love it. We have the Sci-Fi Creature Classics 4-movie collection, which includes 20 Million Miles to Earth, The Giant Claw, It Came from Beneath the Sea, and then Mothra. It's a fun little collection. Now we're cutting into the TV shows, which are mostly going to be Blu-rays. So this will start the Ultraman side of things. So we have Ultra Q. Ultraman. Ultra 7. Return of Ultraman. And then Ultraman Ace. So obviously I'm missing Taro and Leo. I'm trying to get into Ultraman more this year. I've been binging one of the series coming up, and I'll kind of go into what I think of it thus far, but really like having those steelbooks. We then have Ultra Galaxy Mega Monster Battle, UGMMB Neo, and then the movie. Absolutely loved the first season. It's not anything groundbreaking, but just like a fun, like almost like Pokemon take on Ultraman. Still haven't watched season 2 of the movie, so at some point I will have to give those a watch. this, Ultraman Ginga S, the movie, and then Ultra Fight Victory. I'm currently going through Ultraman Ginga the series. Over halfway through. Started off pretty bad. The second half's getting a little bit better, but really, I mean, from watching this when I was a preteen and really enjoying it, it's definitely not as good as I remember it being, but it's been a fun, like, nostalgic look back. We have Ultraman X, the series and the movie. Neon Genesis Evangelion, the complete series, and it also includes the end of Evangelion. We have Godzilla the series, the complete animated series. King Kong the animated series Volume 1. We do not have Volume 2, so that'll be something I have to hunt for at some point. And now we get into the repeats. Essentially, these are things that I've had from my childhood collection or things I've just had for a long time that, at least for now, I'm not looking to get rid of, sentimental or not. We have the 2014 Godzilla Blu-ray. My initial, obviously, buy of this movie. The Gamera Heisei trilogy from Mill Creek. I've heard there are some things about this that may be better than the Arrow Video collection. Not too sure, because that's obviously Mill Creek, but something I want to look into at some point. Those are how I experienced those movies in the first place, too, so. Godzilla King of the Monsters, which is a classic media release. Obviously bought just for the art, really cool. My childhood version of King Kong vs. Godzilla. Sorry if you're hearing noises too. There's something going on outside. Sounds like it might be construction or something. My childhood edition of Godzilla vs. Hedorah. Not a childhood edition, but Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah and Godzilla and Mothra, The Battle for Earth. Initially bought this before I got the Japanese Blu-rays. Probably use these to rip the audio to put onto those for my Plex server. My childhood edition of Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla and Godzilla vs. Destroyer. The Toho Collection of Volume 2, which includes all of those films. Pretty cool. And then my childhood edition of Gamera the Brave. And all these films, at some point, I kind of want to get like a turn-style thing to display these on, like a story rack almost, just because I love the art of the DVDs. Something about them is so nostalgic. Obviously, had these as a kid, so really cool to kind of have these currently on the shelf, but I'd like to actually display these facing out. So, all right, so finally here we have the VHSs. So let me grab those and we'll get this wrapped up. All right, let's do this. Final part again, the VHSs. So we have Godzilla Raids Again. Or Gigantus the Fire Monster. Looks to seem to be the release on that. King Kong versus Godzilla. Some of these releases are going to be pretty beat up. At some point, I'd like to actually get these at a nicer quality. Such as this one. Godzilla vs. Monster Zero, which unfortunately has that gash on the cover. It's obviously Invasion of Astro Monster, one of my favorite films in the series. Son of Godzilla. Very funky release there. Very low quality image on the front. Kind of fun to... piece of history kind of thing. Godzilla vs. Gigan. Love the art on that. Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla. The art on these VHSs, I mean, they're just unbeat. Something about them just looks awesome. I absolutely love it. Godzilla vs. Biollante, which was a steal to find. 99 cents at a Goodwill. I actually found those the same day that I found the Breaking Bad DVDs, which you'll see in the next part. Godzilla 1998. Used to have a bunch of these, so I don't know where the hell they went, but I'm going to have to look for them, because I was just buying whenever I found Godzilla 1998 on VHS, I just buy it. Some point I'm going to have to look for that. We have Rodan. Again, kind of beat up, unfortunately, but still just kind of a neat release to have on VHS. Something I absolutely don't have on DVD or Blu-ray, so. Mothra. And then finally, probably my favorite, just because it's such an oddball thing that I found, Gamera, the Guardian of the Universe. Which I didn't even know they had American released versions of this, so really happy with this. So cool to find. But yeah, that wraps up our physical media collection for 2025 Part 1. On Part 2, like I had mentioned, I'm going to go over my regular releases, so non-kaiju things. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like. If you have any questions on the products I showed, be sure to leave a comment and I'll go over them with you. And if you really, really enjoyed, please subscribe. I've got plenty more content and videos that I want to make, and I'd love to have you around for it. Again, thanks so much for watching. This has been Tobisatsu, and I hope that you have a great day.